Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Join News Today. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokom Limle. We're on DTT because we're free to air on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 125. We are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Coming up this afternoon, 10 million trees to be planted across Ghana today as the country marks this year's National Tree Planting Exercise, otherwise known as Green Ghana Day. We are live at the University of Ghana for that live event. Also this afternoon, as we build up towards the much anticipated Joy News Hotline documentary titled A Nation That Begs, we check the pulse of Ghana's age-old debt crisis. Plus, they came, they saw, and they were conquered. That's the story of the self-taught students of Bia Senior High School. We will tell you how they managed a smile even after they finished their contest with a negative score. And later in the bulletin, Multimedia Group's head of camera department, Modestus Eliomezame, goes home today. More as family, friends, and colleagues gather to bid him farewell. We're also live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter at Joy News on TV. My personal handle is @Danana Aisha. Please stay for details. President Akufo-Addo says his government remains fully committed to protecting the environment and its resources through community-based management and conservation initiatives. Speaking at the third edition of the Green Ghana Day at the University of Ghana, the president said current global environmental challenges have become major threats to our livelihood. Reason as a country, Ghanaians must take the tree planting exercise seriously. And we'll be bringing you his sound shortly. Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament says government must ensure that the Green Ghana Day event do not become an avenue to enrich a few. According to Deputy Ranking Member on the Lands and Forestry Committee, Al-Hassan Suyeni, the programs such as this in the past have been used to siphon money from the states. He was speaking in Parliament as Ghana marked the third edition of Green Ghana Day.
Initiatives such as this, good as they are intended, do not fall victim of corruption or do not become a victim of corruption. It does not become an establishment that is used to siphon money from the taxpayer. Mr. Speaker, and this is important because climate finance has to be optimized for impact and effectiveness, and the way to do that is to ensure that strategies are put in place to change finance and to ensure that finance that is meant for climate change and its mitigation and its adaptation are not misapplied and also give us less optimal value. The president in 2022 in his solar address revealed to this house that they had successfully planted 7 million trees, 2 million more than was initially planned to be planted. However, the minister weeks earlier, in an answer to a question in this same house, reported that only about 4.89 million trees were planted. Mr. Speaker, the question therefore is, how many trees indeed were planted, and how much did we, throw at the plantation of these trees?
The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abujinapo, has been providing updates on the two previous Green Ghana editions.
The 2021 planting, we have 80% plus success rate. And the 2022, we have 70% plus success rate. Mr. Speaker, let me use this opportunity to thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for for your leadership and for your support in this endeavor. And Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to observe that all the trees you planted on the premises of Parliament are doing very well. The pundits tell us that from 1900 to date, we have lost about 80% of our forest cover. This calls for aggressive afforestation and reforestation. And Mr. Speaker, the Green Ghana Day is one of the efforts government and the country is making to restore the lost forest cover of our country, thereby contributing to the noble effort of the world at halting climate change.
Well, heart surgeon and former Minister for Environment, Professor Frimpong Boateng's achievement in life has been merit-based and all Ghanaians must learn from him. That's according to the German ambassador to Ghana while commemorating this year's National Tree Planting Exercise with the support of the renowned heart surgeon, Professor Frimpong Boateng. The exercise was marked at the German ambassador's residence here in Accra.
Today is Ghana Green Day, a very important initiative with regard to forestry. We are happy here to welcome you at the German embassy in Accra. We decided to follow the call of the President, who encouraged all missions present here in this beautiful country of Ghana to join him and to the country in planting a tree on Ghana Green Day 2023. So we were very happy here to join this very important initiative. It's important in the context of climate change, which is affecting Africa and all continents around the world, and it is becoming a bigger challenge every day. We all know that Africa contributed rather little to this very tremendous phenomenon. But at the same time, the impact of climate change is very heavy. But there are also ways we here in living on the African continent can contribute to fight the climate change, and planting tree is one small step. And we need all steps possible. Of course, there's planting trees and there's also deforestation. We also need to join forces in fighting deforestation in the country and to preserve the natural reserves of any country. I'm very happy that a very eminent person of this country accepted my invitation to join me here today. And I'm very happy that Professor Frimpong Boateng, a known fighter for environmental protection in this country, is joining me here today. The other day I was at Kumasi at KNUST University, and I was asked, whom can you think of when you would like to suggest a role model for Ghanaians? And I think Professor Frimpong Boateng is certainly one of them.
Sharing his thoughts on the day as a special guest in attendance, Frimpong Boateng advised Ghanaians to preserve the green belts in every city for scientific benefits.
And when you invited me, I reminded you about the things that I learned or saw. In every German city, you find a belt of forest linking various suburbs of the city. For example, in Germany, you could walk from, say, Adabraka to the Central Business District, across to Osu or somewhere, all through forests that have been laid in every city. So everywhere is cool and is very commendable. You find young and old cycling, jogging, and at times walking off into some restaurants that are established in these forest areas. And so this is something that I wish that we could do in Ghana, planting trees, maintaining our forests, and then leaving gardens in our towns and our cities so that people could go there for recreation, for health reasons.
The director of the West African Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens, WACBIP, Professor Gordner Wandari, has revealed many asymptomatic, mild and reported COVID cases recorded in Ghana, where as a result of high malaria exposure, he says the data indicates that malaria-induced tolerance to inflammatory stimulation protected us from severe COVID-19 and deaths. Speaking during his inaugural lecture at the University of Ghana on the topic, how our immune system acquires tolerance to malaria and helped us survive COVID-19, he said, high exposure to malaria parasites leads to clinical immunity, which is acquired progressively after repeated infections by the malaria parasite.
Okay, so this was again fascinating to us because it confirms that we are quite robust in the face of this virus. We got the virus all right, but just ignored it. Okay, and this ignore takes us back to the tolerance that we learned from malaria. How do you ignore a pathogen? It's malaria that taught us how to ignore pathogens. To find out, did this have to do with how much malaria they had? So we looked at their levels of malaria-specific antibodies. So these are some malaria antigens that we had. We just tested them for antibodies. So you see that, again, it is very generally true that those who were asymptomatic, in other words, those who were able to ignore the virus, had more previous exposure to malaria. Okay? And then we even took this further. So Casey took cells from some of these people who were infected, asymptomatic and symptomatic, and cultured the cells and directly stimulated them with malaria parasites or COVID-19 antigens, okay? This is to directly find out whether they will respond. And you see here again that if you look, symptomatics are in red and asymptomatics are in green. You see that for the most part, the asymptomatics ignored the antigens. Okay, so this is, we believe, the basis for them being able to ignore the virus.
Let's stay at the University of Ghana, where President Akufo-Addo says his government remains fully committed to protecting the environment and its resources through community-based management and conservation initiatives. Speaking at the third edition of the Green Ghana Day at the university, the president said current global environmental challenges have become major threats to our livelihood and reason the country must take the tree planting exercise seriously.
We're living in a time of unprecedented global environmental challenges that threaten our existence and the fate of our planet. The climate crisis is affecting our health, our livelihoods, our security, and our future, and is the major obstacle to sustainable development. In addition to this, anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions continue to be the major driver of this crisis. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, for example, reports that human activities have emitted some 2.4 trillion tons of carbon dioxide since the pre-industrial era, and half of that amount remains in the atmosphere till this very day. This means that we have already exceeded the safe level of carbon dioxide concentration that will limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, the target set by the Paris Agreement on Climate Change. The United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP, also estimates that global greenhouse gas emissions need to fall by 7.6% annually between 2020 and 2030 to limit the warming of our atmosphere to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The consequences of this are already being felt across the globe. According to the World Meteorological Organization, the year 2020 was one of the 3 warmest years on record since we began measuring meaningfully temperature on our planet. And the World Bank projects that at this current rate, I encourage all students across the country to participate fully in this national exercise and contribute their share to the fight against climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, my government remains fully committed to protecting our environment and our people and contributing to global efforts to halt climate change. Government will therefore continue to explore all avenues to enhance our forest cover through afforestation and reforestation programs and protect our natural resources through community-based management and conservation initiatives. Today, your contribution is to step out, take a seedling, plant it, and make sure it grows. I encourage each and every one of you, my fellow Ghanaians, and indeed all persons living in Ghana, young and old, men and women, urban and rural, to join me on this historic day in this national tree planting exercise. We're planting for ourselves, our children, our country, and our planet. Together, let us go planting 10 million trees and nurture them to maturity.
From tree planting, senior statesman and economist Dr. Kwame Pianim is proposing homegrown policies and collective efforts to solve the country's problems. According to him, the IMF program is just an emergency measure, and we need to restructure institutions of the country to wean ourselves off over dependence on foreign aid. He was speaking at the 11th joint graduation ceremony of the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. There's more in this report.
The Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center was established in 1998 and commissioned in 2004 by the Ministry of Defense. The purpose of the center is to build upon and share Ghana's 5 decades of internationally acclaimed experience and competence in peace operations with other African states, particularly those in the ECOWAS sub-region. Over the years, the center has been delivering training in various aspects of peace operations, conflict prevention, and post-conflict reconstruction according to the United Nations standard. The 11th joint graduation ceremony of the institute saw 71 students conferred with Master of Arts degrees and 3 being conferred with Doctor of Philosophy in their chosen fields of study. The guest of honor at the ceremony, Dr. Kwame Pianim, called for a collective and concerted effort to stabilize Ghana's ailing economy. He further admonished the graduates to go out there and continue the legacy of Kofi Annan.
Ghana and most Africa are at a stage where we have to learn to grow our economies without a stop-go gap. And it means making haste slowly, as the Romans used to say. If we grew slowly, 5%, 3% every year, we'll be doing by far better than trying to grow 7%, 11%, and then we go to 3%, 4%, and then we return to the IMF and the World Bank for salvation. For our voice to be heard at the international table for peace and security, we need to become dependent on ourselves. We have enough resources. In the 21st century, there is no field of human endeavor where Ghanaians and Africans are not excelling. Your center bears the brand of Kofi Annan, a great international icon for peace and security, an icon who became the voice for the voiceless. This is the person this center stands for. And
after more than 60 years of unbridled borrowing, Ghana is back again to the surgical theatre receiving treatment from the IMF. Joy News' Isaac Ofieje takes us on a historical ride tracking Ghana's over 6 decades of ballooning public debt stock. Here are excerpts of our latest documentary.
New African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing the whole affairs.
Right from 1965, when Ghana first approached the IMF under the watch of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, one of the reasons we cited was debt unsustainability or ballooning public debt.
Historically, we always hit a roadblock where we just have to go and beg our creditors to forgive us.
By the time we went to Sinchi and looked at the policies and the rest, we realized, that it was going to be difficult. The development partners also decided that, they didn't think we could handle this problem ourselves.
Suddenly, we were facing major challenges on our balance of payments. Our currency went into a steep decline. Interest rates went out of the window. Inflation, all the indices that had been worked on. And that is what basically forced us to go to seek the assistance of the fund.
We thought that we could borrow our way through debt, and here we are today as though we needed another epic like yesterday.
A nation that begs says on Joy News Monday, June 12 at 8:30 p.m. and on the Super Morning Show on Joy FM at 8:30 a.m. Producer of the documentary, Isaac Ofieje, has joined me in the studio. Kofi, good job so far.
Thank you.
So why a nation that begs?
Right, so we've been studying the data for quite some time, and we've been doing this discussion on PM Express and other shows as well. But we feel it is time to put together a piece or a documentary that will, categorize all of these things that we're talking about. So the categorization of all the 17 times we've been to the IMF, we decided to put them in one single document or one single documentary. Why we are calling it a nation that begs is because since independence, we have simply failed to manage our own debt, and we are struggling to even put our debt at a sustainable level. So we are putting this together because we found a certain gap where we feel that we do not have such work out there that catalog all of these things. So we are putting this together, tracking the history, speaking to people who were there, finance ministers, presidents, and then also independent people like Bryce Simmons, and then also Professor Godfrey Bokwin, who have insights in this issue. So that's why we named this documentary A Nation That Begs. I'm sure a lot of good content in there. We did a lot of research, data, and all that. So
what should we expect actually?
Well, so this is a 3-part series. So the first part will track our history on unbridled borrowing for over 60 years or more than 6 decades. And then also the second part, we look at COVID and more borrowing. And then we look at the debt restructuring that we've just did. This is our first time we are doing this in our history. And probably we end with, going into the debt crisis itself and looking at the solutions ahead. So this is, a lot of data in there, and then a lot of content also as well.
Definitely why viewers shouldn't miss this opportunity. It's on June 12 at 8:30 p.m. on the Joy News channel and 8:30 a.m. on Joy FM, the Super Morning Show. So they came, they saw, and they were conquered. That's the story of the self-taught students of Bia Senior High Technical School during the qualifying stages of the National Science and Maths Quiz in the Western North region. Without a dedicated teacher and close to no reference material, the students of Bia SHTS took charge of their own education and prepared for the competition. Despite ending their contest with a negative score, they emerged as a symbol of resilience and determination in the face of adversity. My colleague Michael Ashali has the rest of the story.
You've been learning all day long, waited for this moment to come sit here and do our best on stage, hoping we'll get to the national stage.
An honest confession of sleepless nights by students of BIA SHTS preparing to contest in the Western North qualifiers, but the contest proved to be a very difficult hurdle.
Yes, BIA.
Recessive.
That is incorrect. BIA. A rectangle with adjacent sides congruent is a square.
It's a false statement. It's a false statement.
That is incorrect. BIA. The image distance is negative 25 centimeters.
True statement.
That is incorrect. BIA. B, coordinate 6, 8.
True statement.
That is incorrect. BIA. The image distance is negative 25 centimeters.
True statement.
That is incorrect.
Navigating the path to representing their school proved to be a formidable challenge, as the students encountered numerous hurdles along the way. Without the guidance of a teacher, the contestants were left to their own devices, taking turns to teach themselves.
We don't have menu materials that you'll be learning, so usually we teach ourselves. Like, this guy is good at the chemistry aspect and biology aspect, so you go and teach me. I'm general, I learn everything, but he's good. That's his aspect for him. We used to teach ourselves. You go there, teach, we discuss, and like solve further questions under them and know how our stand will be. Our master was like quite busy. He used to come and have a time with us, but we learned ourselves and we've tried.
Preparation was, it was, let's say, to the students, it wasn't enough for us, and we have to devote our time and help each other so that we develop that collaboration, so that when we come on stage, we will be. Our masters became so reluctant, and we didn't even know that we would come for the contest. So it was impromptu that we are coming for it. So what happened on the stage, those over there, those who are watching us, shouldn't be surprised of it. It's a triumph. We have tried our best, and God determines what it would be. So if I didn't get the last, I would have been the first, but it has turned the other way around. So I would say that I'll thank the Almighty God for that.
In a disheartening turn of events, their efforts culminated in a score that defied expectations.
I was hoping to end this contest without anyone owing me, but BIA is still owing me. So BIA, next year when you come, God willing, I'll take my points, okay? So at the end of the contest, these are the scores. BIA had negative 10 points. Bibiani Senior High Technical School had 11 points. And St. Joseph Senior High School had 30 points.
Hi, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Ecobank Ghana has declared no dividend payment to its shareholders for the 2022 financial year. This is due to a loss of 27 million Ghana cedis. The bank attributed the loss to net impairment charges of 1.7 billion arising from the debt restructuring by government. Managing Director Dan Saki, however, remains confident that the bank will recover and return to profitability by end of this year. He spoke to Joy Business at the 35th Annual General Meeting in Accra.
The bank's loss was a complete reversal of its pre-tax profit of 893.732 million Ghana cedis made in 2021. Ecobank Ghana PLC delivered total revenue of 2.97 billion Ghana cedis in 2022, 40.3% higher than the previous year. Mr. Saki entreated customers of the bank to be wary of fraudsters within the space.
As you are aware, the impact of the DDEP meant that all banks had to take some level of impairment. What is most important for us is to confirm that revenue generation prior to the impairment was very high. The bank's revenue base is widely diversified, equal contribution by all the 4 business units of the bank. Going forward, we are aware that when you exchange bonds with coupons averaging around 25%, for new bonds that will earn around between 9 to 12%, then we expect that revenue from bonds will decline going forward. However, it's also important to point out that the bank's investments are not just in bonds, but then liquidity has been deployed into loans and other assets. Whilst we expect that interest revenue from these assets will come down compared to what was there last year due to the expected reduction in inflation, we believe that that would also reflect positively on the cost side. We are expecting that the level of inflation that drove most of the costs that we incurred should come down. We also expect to start seeing the benefits of the automation that we've implemented across the year. We believe that the future of banking is digital. We believe that we'll continue to serve more of our clients via the digital channels. And our expectation is that we'll start reaping the benefits from the investment in digitalization. And that should contribute towards, 1, lower cost to serve, and 2, a better customer experience for the bank. We'd also like to use this opportunity to educate our clients, inform them, sensitize them on the need to keep personal information safe.
Maintain that the bank will continue to develop systems to safeguard customers' data.
We expect that with the conclusion of the IMF staff level agreement, obviously there are other stages. There will be monitoring, ongoing monitoring of Ghana's performance. We expect that that will impact on different sectors in different manners. We will be reviewing our appetite for lending to each of the sectors based on the way they rebound. Obviously, all the sectors are not going to rebound in the same manner. We expect some sectors will rebound faster and some sectors might be a bit late in rebounding. So our asset allocation will be based upon what we see as opportunities in the market. But overall, we are optimistic that with the resolution of the debt overhang, we believe that the various sectors should respond also positively.
Ecobank Ghana says it remains confident in its capacity to recover in 2023. James Echens reports for Joy Business.
Now, Anglo Gold Ashanti says it will deepen collaboration with the stakeholders to create a resilient and socio-economically self-sustaining communities within Obuasi as part of efforts in achieving its 10-year socio-economic development plan. According to the Senior Manager, Sustainability at Anglo Gold Ashanti Obuasi Mine, Emmanuel Bedu, the company will work on 3 pillars mapped out to diversify the local economy of Obuasi whilst improving cross-section partnership. He spoke to Joy Business at the 2023 Ghana Mining and Energy Summit in Accra.
The 10 years, work with all our stakeholders to contribute to and socioeconomically self-sustaining Obuasi. And I'm very emphatic Obuasi because everybody mentions Obuasi. And to be able to do this, 3 levels or 3 pillars of outcomes were identified. So we have an outcome around improving social development in and around Obuasi. We have an outcome around diversifying the local economy and an outcome around improving cross-section partnership. And to be able to achieve these intermediate outcomes, there are a number of immediate outcomes we seek to work towards to achieve. In terms of diversifying the local economy, we have skills and entrepreneurship, we have industrialization, we have agriculture. In terms of social development, we have health, we have education, we have water, sanitation and hygiene, and then we also have community infrastructure. And to be able to put all these together, we want to move away from the tradition again of mining companies feeling that we can do and do it all.
More business at the top of the hour on the marketplace. Stay tuned. Joy News returns. Joy News Today returns after the break.
And in showbiz, all the fingers are not equal, but that's not the only variation in life. Another disparity in life is seen in the days of the week, with each day serving as a completely different experience. In the last shot of our remembrance series on Professor Amateidu, we bring you extracts of her poem, The Days, read by Ghanaian filmmaker and culture activist Akofa Ejeni.
Amateidu's Days. All the days are not equal, said the old village wall. Sunday starts the week, then Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday for midweek, Thursday to follow, Friday comes after. Some days that are sunny and quite warm all the way. Some days are green with the greenness of leaves. Some days are gold, they glitter, they shine. There are days that are long, like the steps of a giant. There are days that feel so wrong, you could hit them with a gong. There are days that are tired, like an old age, weak and tired. Some days are longer than the neck of a giraffe. Other days are shorter than the finger of a hand. There are days which are happy, they can laugh out loud, but some days are grouchy, they snarl and they bite. There are days that feel good, like sleeping in mother's arms. There are days that are bad, they hurt, they drag. Some days are full of ice, other days are just mouths. Some days crawl like snails, other days run like hares. There are days that are boastful like champions before a fight, but some days are very shy like our first morning at school. There are strange days and busy, very sour and hard to bite. Yes, some days are easy, full of sugar, sweet and spice. There are days that are bouncy like a football on a field. There are days that stand still like soldiers on parade. Some days can sing, some days only scream. There are blue days with red streaks and brown days with black spots. Each day has hours of 10, 10, and 4. But each day is different in one way or more. All the days are not equal, said the old village wall.
All the days indeed are not equal. That does it for showbiz. That's how we wrap up the bulletin also this afternoon. May Ama Atheidu's soul rest in peace. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjohnline.com. You will get more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. Enjoy the rest of our programs.